Hello, welcome again to Grade 8. This is Unit 4, Unforgettable Past. This episode we are going to take a reading comprehension exercise. You can find the reading passage in your student's book, page 39. First, let's preview the text. Why do you think the writer included a title, pictures, and numbers in the text? The title quickly tells the reader what information they will learn about. The writers included pictures to make the text easy to read, follow, and understand. The writers included numbers to help the reader to refer quickly to specific points in the text. When you read a text, try to identify different ways the text is organized, the structure. Text structures such as description, sequence, cause and effect, compare and contrast, problem, solution. This text is an example of an expository text. Now, things you need to recognize while reading the text. The first sentence in each paragraph is typically a topic sentence that clearly states what the paragraph is about. For example, the first paragraph is about before the discovery of oil in Kuwait, pearl diving was the main source of income for many Kuwaiti people. The second paragraph is about pearl diving held communities together. The third paragraph is about kinds of ships. You can find that in the topic sentence. The fourth paragraph is about pearl diving is still an important part of the Kuwaiti heritage. Now we want to match the headings with the right paragraph. This exercise is in your student's book, page 40. Let's read the headings. Keeping pearling alive, pearling before oil, pearling communities, and pearling equipment and practice. Identifying the topic sentence will help you match the headings with the right paragraphs. Try to do this exercise now. Let's check your answers. Did you get it all right? Sometimes the author uses text features such as bold, italics, or underline to highlight important facts or key details. Sometimes the author uses inverted commas around words that are not in English. For example, pearl hunters used many kinds of ships. The boom was one of the most famous ones. So the word boom is not in English. The boom is a medium-sized deep-sea dhow, a traditional Arabic sailing vessel. In this episode, we are going to answer these questions. Best title, the opposite, the purpose of the writer, inference questions, and WH questions. Now let's start reading the passage. Before the discovery of oil in Kuwait, pearl diving was the main source of income for many Kuwaiti people. Pearling was important for Kuwait's economy. Pearl divers used to face many hardships in the sea. Pearling was a daily activity for sailors and divers. They often worked for 12 or 16 hours a day. Pearl diving was not only an industry, but a social system that held communities together. Every generation passed on the tradition of pearl diving by teaching their children and telling them stories about pearling. The methods used in pearling did not change for many years. Pearl hunters used many kinds of ships. The boom was one of the most famous ones. Divers wore wraparound skirts or black suits, a nose clip, a neck basket, and a tow anchor. They were tied securely to the ship with a rope around their waists. They held the rope throughout the dive. When a diver was ready, he tugged on the rope and was pulled up to the surface. The tradition of pearl diving died during the 1930s. because of the introduction of cultured pearls which were cheaply found in Japan. But pearl diving is still an important part of the Kuwaiti heritage. Nowadays, festivals are held and sea trips are organized to keep this tradition alive. These trips are supported by His Highness the Emir of Kuwait. Now, let's choose the correct answer from A, B, C, and D. Number 1. Another title for this passage could be. Remember, when you want to identify the best title, you should find the main aim of the passage, the whole passage, not only one of the paragraphs. Always look at the introductory sentence and concluding sentence to see if there is a similar message. Analyze all the options for the title. Now let's read the options. A. Kuwait's economy. B. Pearls around the world. C. Kuwait in the past. D. Precious heritage. The correct answer is precious heritage. Number 2. The opposite of the underlined word passed on in paragraph 2 is. When you want to identify the opposite of the word, read the sentence in which the underlined word is found. Think of the opposite of the underlined word before looking at the answer options. Look for the hints to get the right word. Then try to match your own answer with the words given in the answer choices. If you can't figure out the meaning, substitute each answer choice in the original sentence and check which word makes the sentence convey the opposite message. Now let's go back to the paragraph and read the sentence. Every generation passed on the tradition of pearl diving by teaching their children and telling them stories about pearling. So how did they pass on the tradition? By teaching the children and telling them stories. So they taught them. Now what do you think the opposite of passed on? Let's read the options. Gave, kept, used, or were. And the correct answer is kept. Question number 3. The purpose of the writer is to. When you find this question, ask yourself, what does the writer want me to know? Also try to understand the verbs in each option. For example, if you find the verb inform, ask yourself, does the passage give facts about something? If you find persuade, ask yourself, does the passage try to get you to do something? Describe, ask, does the passage give mostly details about something? And compare, does the passage compare something in different times? Now let's read the options. A. Inform the reader about the tradition of pearl diving in Kuwait. B. Persuade the reader to specialize in pearl diving. C. Describe the tools used in pearl diving in the past. D. Compare pearl diving now and in the past. What do you think the correct option is? The correct answer is A. Inform the reader about the tradition of pearl diving in Kuwait. Question number 4. According to the text, all the following statements are true except, so we have 3 statements true and one of them is not true. To answer this question, you can return to the text and quickly reread a few sentences. Answers that seem logical but are not directly supported by the text should be avoided. Now let's read the options one by one and try to find the correct answer. A. Cultured pearls were introduced in Japan. If we go back to the paragraph, we find that the introduction of cultured pearls which were cheaply found in Japan. So this is a correct statement. This is a true statement. It's not our correct answer. The second option, divers used to work 12 hours and more per day. And we find here that they often worked for 12 to 16 hours a day, which is also true, and it's not our correct answer. The boom was used for pearl diving. Also, we can find it here. The boom was one of the most famous ones that was used for pearl diving. So it's not our answer. The last option, younger generations know nothing about pearl diving. Nowadays, festivals are held and sea trips are organized to keep this tradition alive. So younger generations know about pearl diving. So it's not it's not a true statement, it's our correct answer. How do we identify WH questions? Why was pearl diving viewed as a social system? You have to identify the keywords in the question. Identify the verbs in the question. Identify the key nouns and noun phrases in the question. We have was viewed, verb, pearl diving, keywords, and social system, noun phrase. This is a think and search question. You should know that the answer is in the text, but it may not use the same language that is used in the question. You need to look for the keywords and make connections. You need to answer why. Read the whole paragraph to find the answer. Why was pearl diving viewed as a social system? So, pearl diving was not only an industry but a social system that held communities together. Every generation passed on the tradition of pearl diving by teaching their children and telling them stories about pearling. So, what do you think the answer is? Because every generation passed on the tradition of pearl diving by teaching their children and telling them stories about pearl diving. Next question. What was the equipment used in pearl diving? The key words here is equipment, key verb was used, key nouns and noun phrases in pearl diving. And we can find the answer in this paragraph. They used the boom, and divers wore wraparound skirts or black suits, a nose clip, a neck basket, and a tow anchor. They were tied securely to the ship with a rope around their wrists. So these are the equipments used by the divers. The boom, skirts or black suits, a nose clip, a neck basket, a tow anchor, and a rope were used in pearl diving. That's it for this episode. We learned how to infer the meaning of some unfamiliar words and how to answer some detailed questions after reading. Thank you and see you next time.